in the Northwoods. Our lead this hour coming from the NBA Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 4. And the reigning champions from last season, Milwaukee, looking to take a 3-1 lead over Boston in Brewtown, the home of the Harley-Davidson motorcycle. Did you watch? Maybe not. Well, you know who didn't watch? They actually played Jason Tatum and Al Horford side by side, mano a mano, the bread and butter of the Celtics on this night. As Jason Tatum, Al Horford each scored 30 points. Boston storming back in the fourth quarter for a 116-108 win over the Bucks. The Celtics outscoring Milwaukee 43-28 in the final 12 minutes for the victory. The Bucks got a great stat line out of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Milwaukee would be very happy with that stat line, but it was not enough. Not enough to get the win. So let us discuss the question: how concerned should the Bucks be about this stumble at home? Chance to go up 3-1. Now it's 2-2, best of 3. So the MALLER scale of concern, 1 to 10, with 10 being lightheadedness. This is a 7 on the MALLER scale of concern. I'm at a 7 for the Bucks. I've got Looney Tunes, Theatrical, and Vincent Van Gogh. And we will lock all of these random things together and make the Baba Ganoush. We're going to make the Baba Ganoush. Now, number one. All right, make no mistake here that I watched this game. I was interested for several reasons. But the Bucks botched this. This was a Bucks botched performance in this game. Now, Milwaukee had a 7-point lead going to the fourth quarter. Is that a game over? No, of course not. 7-point lead, it's 3 buckets. 3-point shot, all that stuff. But 7-point lead, fourth quarter, they were in the driver's seat, home cooking, all that nonsense. The Celtics, they were the ones with the tight tuchus going to the fourth quarter. They're the ones on the ropes. You go down 3-1, mathematically, you're doomed. Now, there have been teams that have come back from down 3-1, but facing that deficit, the Celtics would have been having their last supper in the next game, conceivably. So they were the ones that had all the immense pressure, as we said. And what we witnessed, if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about, for Milwaukee here, was an implosion. They went Looney Tunes in the fourth quarter, and they turned into one of the great Looney Tunes characters, Foghorn Leghorn. And they laid an egg, is what they did, several eggs in the fourth quarter. It was a fourth quarter defensive debacle, a meltdown, whatever adjective you want to use. The Celtics, listen, Celtics have a good team. They're not that good. Not 84% from the floor good, which is exactly what Boston shot in the fourth quarter, 16 of 19. They attempted 19 field goals. They made 16 of them. So over 84% from three-point range. Took 5 3-pointers, made 4 of them. My computer-like brain tells me that's 80% from downtown. This was an absolute masterpiece by Boston, but it's not possible. Remember, most games are lost, not won. It's not possible if the Bucks had played an ounce of defense. They were matadors. Ole, 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 ole. And the Celtics did what they wanted here. Now, secondly, in the fourth quarter they did. But secondly, who gets the majority of the blame? I love playing the blame game. And for Milwaukee, the blame game, I'm going with Giannis Antetokounmpo, Drew Holiday, and Grayson Allen. Those are the three stooges. Now, the Greek Freak, he had an impressive overall stat line. And so for those that don't watch these games and just look at the numbers, you're like, okay, you can't blame him. But the reality is something different here. He, in the fourth quarter, tripped and fell in a very theatrical way, a dramatic way, when it mattered most. And I'm talking about defense in particular. When you're the headliner and you don't deliver, you then have to wear the shame belt. That's how this works. And Antetokounmpo, 3 of 7 from the floor in the fourth quarter, was just not good enough. And he had to suffer the indignity of being outplayed by Al Horford. Al Horford outplayed the former MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo in the fourth quarter. That is say it with me now, fiasco. A fiasco for the gentleman from Wisconsin. And then you have Drew Holiday, who was on holiday in the fourth quarter, 0 of 5 from the floor, had 1 point. He was out there, and the Bucks were outscored by 17 points. Overall, Drew Holiday was terrible in the game throughout. It wasn't just the fourth quarter. 5 of 22 from the floor, and he missed a bunch of what we called back when I was playing basketball, bunnies. When I was Moneyball Maller, we called those bunnies. Now, I'm going to include Grayson Allen in this, and the reason I'm including him, you say, well, he's a role player. You can't really include a role player. Well, screw you. I can do what I want. And Grayson Allen, he was the breakout star. He was the big hero in several of those games in the series against the Chicago Bulls. And he had been playing like he was back at Duke in that playoff series against the Celtics. The glass slipper has cracked. It's back to realityville here. Grayson Allen shooting 40% from the floor in the series collectively. He didn't play well in the game that was played on Monday night. 28% from three-point range. And so the Celtics, they're just paying attention to him, but he's just been lousy. He's been lousy. Has a total, Grayson Allen, of 23 points in the first 4 games. This last game included here against the Celtics. Not good enough. Obviously not good enough. You set the bar rather high, and you have not performed up to expectation now. Or maybe you have performed up to expectation, and that is the problem. All right, a final point. So here we are, 2-2. It's the NBA's wet dream. They love these 2-2 series. They've got a lot of them in the semifinals because they want the Game 7. They want the full 7 games. They want that Game 7, advertising, revenue, reasons, the whole thing. And I got several emails from conspiracy theorists when it looked like Memphis was going to beat Golden State and every series would have been 2-2, and it didn't work out that way. The Warriors ended up making a couple more shots in the fourth quarter, actually several more, and beat the Grizzlies. But the point is that as far as where we are right now in this Eastern Conference semifinal series, who has the edge the rest of the way between the Celtics and the Bucks? Now, we're giving a slight lean, a very slight lean to Boston. And it's not because of home court or anything like that. That's limited. Both teams have been able to win on the road here. So I'm not really weighing that as a denominating factor here. But the Celtics, they've been able to win a couple of these games without their key guys. Game 2 without Marcus Smart. Game 4, this last game here without Robert Williams. So they've been modeling themselves, next man up, do your job, blah, 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 blah. People have been raising their performance for the Celtics. And Al Horford is a wonderful example of that. Al Horford went Vincent van Gogh here. He painted the Starry Night in this particular game. It was a virtuoso performance. And a couple of years ago, I had the chance to do some fill-in work locally in Boston radio. And at that time, he was known, he had picked up the nickname Average Al, because Al Horford, and it is really true of his career, he's not particularly bad in any one area, but he's also not particularly good in any one area. He's a little above average in everything, but nothing really pops about Al Horford. In this game, he was able to expand his horizons, and for one night, everything was great. But it's a double-edged sword for the Celtics. And I'm giving the lean to Boston here, but it's a double-edged sword. If you need that performance from Al Horford again, good luck. Right? Highly unlikely, improbable, you could say, that the Celtics will get that type of performance by Al Horford. Again, I buy into the myth that lightning does not strike the same place twice, back to back and belly to belly. And so if the Celtics are going to need that going forward to win again in one of these games upcoming, I'm not counting on that happening. But for one night, Al Horford was wonderful, was absolutely wonderful, and was better down the stretch than a former MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, so the Celtics can be happy and smile and all that. But the better story is in the losing locker room. Mike Budenholzer. Doesn't Budenholzer always look like he's been up all night and he's studying for a test and he's cramming it all in and he hasn't eaten well and his diet's a little messed up? He always has that look. Budenholzer, the coach of the Bucks. Anyway, here's Mike Budenholzer, who claims that he has an interesting take on what's to come for the Bucks and the Celtics.
It's 2-2. We're going back. It's exciting. It's supposed to be, and it's going to be a great series. And we're looking forward to Game 5 going on the road. And we've been there before, and we got to be our best.
That was just filler. That was Mike Budenholzer saying, I am not going to put any effort into this, and I am just going to roll off as many cliches, as many platitudes as I can possibly squeeze in to a soundbite. I think we should play this again. How many seconds is this, Roberto? What are we looking at here?
13 seconds.
13 seconds, so it's not that long. I wasn't counting. I'm going to say there were 5 to 6 versions of cliches / platitudes, but let's play the audio. Here's again, Mike Budenholzer talking about what he has ahead of him for the Bucks.
It's 2-2. We're going back. It's exciting. It's the way it's supposed to be, and it's going to be a great series. And we're looking forward to Game 5 going on the road, and we've been there before, and
5.
We got to be our best.
6. Yeah. I was right. I was like 6. I counted 6 on it. How about Giannis Antetokounmpo? Let's get freaky on the Ben Maller Show. We're getting freaky with the Greek freak. Here is Giannis, who is very obliging to the opponent here. He would like to butter up the biscuits of the Celtics.
They were, playing a lot of one-on-one. They were hitting shots. They were opening the pop with Horford for wide open threes. But at the end of the day, they made shots, down the stretch. They made shots. They execute well. They were disciplined, so you got to give them credit. But the effort was there.
Yeah. Oh, so the effort was. So if you thought the Bucks were not going to put effort out in a playoff game, at least they tried. They tried there. And I love that he worked in the end of the day. One of the favorite cliches of professional athletes, not at the start of the day, but at the end of the day. What about the middle of the day? Does anyone at the middle of the day?
Well, they're all important. We got to win as many as we can. A lot of baseball to be played. Anything can happen. We're going to come to the yard each and every day, battle each night, and look up at the end and see where we stand. We know our work is cut out for us. We got a lot of work to do. Hopefully we can all come together, realize what we have here, and try to get something done.
Well, that's the all-time GOAT. That's the GOAT. People, there's a lot of debates. There's a lot of what we do here in sports radio is debating the GOAT. Who's the GOAT? I need the GOAT. Most goats have flies. I've seen, when I was a kid, I used to go to the zoo and see goats. They had flies all over them. They smelled terrible, goats. But everyone wants to be the GOAT. The GOAT of the cliche is, and forever, until taken off the throne, the great Scott Podsednik. A nondescript, average Major League Baseball player who hung around for a while, a couple years. I think he was an all-star, maybe once or twice, but just nothing special. But he's the king, the GOAT of the cliche.